Good evening, everyone. My name is Jackie Owen, and I'm the Relationship Manager at the College of Law Queensland. So thanks for having us tonight to talk about practical legal training. And thank you to my lovely colleague, Tracy, for joining us as well. So I hope you're all going well up there on the Sunshine Coast. It's going to not be quite so sunny and lovely this week, but hopefully we'll get back to being in summer from next week onwards. So thanks for your time this evening. So we're here to talk about PLT, and I've got some slides to share with you as well. So we'll get into those as well. If anyone's got any questions as we move through the presentation, feel free to flick your microphone on and ask verbally, or if you wanted to put it in the chat box, that's fine. If you wanted to wait till the end or ask questions along the way, whatever works for you. And if anyone's watching this recording, I'll have my email address at the end of the presentation. So feel free to, and that goes for anyone who's online as well, feel free to contact me afterwards as well. All right, I'm going to share my screen, and we'll get into it. Excellent. I'm going to assume that you can see those okay. Excellent. My lighting is a bit bad, but anyway, look at the screen and the slides, not me. Okay, so PLT is what we're here to talk about. So that's practical legal training, and it's the thing that you need to do after graduation from your law degree before you can become a lawyer. In fact, you can get yourself into a little bit of trouble if you do start calling yourself a lawyer before you have been admitted. So here are my contact details at the beginning as well. So I'll have these at the end again, but if anyone has any questions that they either are thinking about as they're watching this recording, or if those of you that are with us tonight sort of think tomorrow, oh, I should have asked that, just drop me an email at jowen@collaw, so collaw.edu.au, and happy to answer questions over email or make a time to chat. And I would love it if, I think I'm connected with a lot of you, but if anyone's not connected with me yet on LinkedIn, I would love you to send me a request as well. And that is also the College of Law social media accounts there. So that's a great source of information to find out what's going on. Oh, I think I've got the wrong land in there because I think I researched, this is from another presentation, but I'd like to acknowledge all of the traditional custodians of the lands we are all present on today, and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of our audience today or watching the recording later on, of course. And we pay our respects to each of the elders, past, present, and emerging. Okay, so let's get into it. I love this analogy. You have built the boat, now we're going to learn to sail it. And that's what PLT is all about. So you've been at university learning the theoretical foundations of the law, learning about the law. So constructing hopefully a good solid vessel in which you can sail out into law land. And then you'll come to us for practical legal training and learn how to sail that boat. So we'll cover all the practical tools that you'll need as an entry-level lawyer in your daily practice to be able to step out as an entry-level lawyer into law land and be able to perform that role confidently and competently as well. So you're not sort of, I mean, you're still going to be learning every single day, especially for the first two years of being a lawyer, but hopefully once you've done PLT with the College of Law, you'll feel like not that you won't have to ask questions or maybe get some guidance along the way, but you'll feel like you sort of know what you're doing, and you'll have the tools and the resources to know where to go if you know, as tasks are given to you. So that's what practical legal training is all about. It's exactly what it sounds like. So this is a career pathway. So you will complete your academic law degree at the University of the Sunshine Coast. Then you will come to the College of Law and complete your practical legal training, which will also give you a second qualification called the Graduate Diploma of Legal Practice. You'll take both of those qualifications and go through an admissions process, which is a little bit, few hoops and things to jump through. Through the admissions board, the Queensland Admissions Board, you'll prove yourself a fit and proper person. Then you'll go to an admission ceremony, which is a really fabulous day. You'll come down to the Supreme Court of Queensland in Brisbane. There are ceremonies sort of further north, but most Sunshine Coast people come down to Brisbane, and an admitted practitioner will stand up that you've asked, will stand up and move your admission and ask the courts to admit you as a practitioner. You'll stand with the whole cohort being admitted and say an oath and a couple of other formal things. I just had some spring rolls. I must have had a little crumb in my throat. Okay, so then you'll come out, you'll sign the roll of solicitors and take a bunch of photos and probably go for a lovely lunch somewhere and a celebration. It's a really beautiful day. We try and get there and welcome as many people to the profession as we can. But after that, you'll get your practicing certificate from the admissions board, and that's when you can call yourself a lawyer or a solicitor. So don't forget that last step of actually applying for your admissions certificate. Then you'll be able to work as a lawyer or a solicitor in whatever legal role, or you might decide that you'll take that lawyer cap and do other non-legal roles. It's totally up to you. But as an admitted practitioner, you'll have a whole lot of jobs open up to you. You might like to do further study sometime down the track and do another course, the bar course, to become a barrister. But we're not here to talk about that last step. We're here to talk about becoming a lawyer through practical legal training. So late last year, or about this time last year, I can't believe it's nearly October. We are late in this year, aren't we? We asked a whole lot of our graduates what they particularly liked about the College of Law. And this is what the four main things were over and over again. The main benefit of PLT at the College of Law was the flexibility. So first of all, we have a bunch of dates. You don't have to wait very long for the next practical legal training date at the College of Law, especially now post-COVID, when we have a lot of courses 100% online. And you don't have to come to Brisbane. You don't have to wait for us to come and teach up there. And I'll explain that a little bit further shortly. But people outside of the Brisbane, sort of greater Brisbane area, can do any one of our courses. And it also fits in with your with your life as well. So we have part-time courses if you're working full-time. We have full-time courses. If you're not working full-time, you want to zip through the course quite quickly. That's a 15-week program. We also have an evening option. So a lot of people are really loving this. Put it this way, before COVID, we were doing 2 evening courses a week, and you had to come to the College of Law in Brisbane to do them. And we'd probably have somewhere between sort of a dozen and maybe 15 to 20 students in 2 groups a year. Sometimes it was sort of 10, but we now have got 4 courses a year, in intakes a year for the evening program, and we're getting sort of 50 and 60 people per course, because that's all online. So you can do it part-time in the evening anywhere in Queensland. And what that means is, instead of that week 1 being 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and you have to take a week off work or step away from your desk for the week, you can actually do it of an evening, Tuesdays and Thursday evenings from 6 p.m. And it's carved up into 12 different workshops that we run over 6 weeks. So that's really flexible, means you don't have to, you can sort of do it outside of office hours. Also, the rest of our program is online, and you can do that. There's no lectures to attend, no tutorials to attend after week 1. So from week 2 onwards, you can as long as you've got a good internet connection, you can do it during the day, on the weekend, at night, whatever works for your schedule. Our teachers also, like Tracy is a practicing lawyer. So she understands how all of a sudden a bunch of stuff can land on your desk, or you have to go to court, or, you know, matters pile up. And our lecturers are quite flexible in that, okay, you've got to go to court on a Friday or a Thursday, you were supposed to do, one of your assessments was due, you can contact our lecturers and they can work with you to sort of move that to a time. You know, they might say, look, you know, don't worry about that, just get that in on over the weekend by Monday, and that's all good. So you are not the first person to be a busy lawyer trying to do PLT, and we certainly understand that. Obviously, if you've you know, you're required on a matter, or you've got to go to court, or whatever it might be, then you'll have to rearrange your PLT. We also have been told by our grads that the course is extremely practical. It is exactly what it sounds like, practical legal skills. And we focus on honing, developing, practicing those skills by actually doing legal stuff. So you're practicing the law in a safe, secure environment where you can make mistakes and get feedback and learn from your mistakes, but no one is going to jail or losing their house or losing their business or losing their children or anything serious. It's all sort of mock matters with submitting mock documentation and making mock decisions to your mock boss, who is your lecturer, your supervisor. So it's very, very practical. It's also setting you up for success in that entry level lawyer position, so that you can go out and be confident in what you're doing as you start your legal career in the workforce. And certainly we have a lot of after PLT support as well to keep you on that road to success at the College of Law as well. And obviously, we're a very trusted provider. We've been training lawyers for about 48 going on 49 years. So way back in 1974, I think it was, we started, and we are trusted by over 30 of Australia's top law firms to train their graduates. So if you do end up in one of the big firms, you know, in the pointy end of town, you will come and do the College of Law as a matter of course. So those are the main things that they said. Pretty much all we do is train lawyers, so we're obviously quite good at it. We've been doing it for nearly 50 years. I've mentioned some of these already, 100% online or mixed. So before COVID, BC, a million years ago, it seems like. So back in 2019, if Tracy and I were giving this presentation, what we would be saying is, okay, there's a 15-week full-time course, there's a 30-week part-time course, and let me know if there's any questions you want me to stop and answer. Tracy, I can see you. I can't see the chat for the moment. I might pull that up. And we would say week 1 is face-to-face in a classroom, and we come up to the Sunshine Coast and we teach that at the University of the Sunshine Coast, and it's usually Tracy because she's a local. And you would do that Monday to Friday, full-time, face-to-face, and then the rest of the course would be online. So that's what we now call our mixed option. We are bringing that back, but of course COVID happened and we couldn't be together, and so the course very quickly and easily, because we've been doing this for a long time, moved 100% online, which meant that people could do it from in regional areas, could do whatever course they wanted. So all of a sudden, instead of having to wait, unless you wanted to travel to Brisbane, wait for the end of June and the end of November face-to-face teaching, where Tracy would do that week 1 at the University of Sunshine Coast, all of a sudden you could do whatever course you wanted. So you could do the January, the February, or the March, or you know, you had another sort of 30 options, and you can still do that, but we are bringing back that mixed blended version where you do week 1 face-to-face. So it's really up to you to decide if those dates suit you, and if you're sick of online learning and you want to actually be in a classroom. So last year, and as I said, we usually do this twice a year. At the end of last year, end of November, out of all our regional offerings, so that's Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Rockhampton, Toowoomba, Cairns and Townsville, the Sunshine Coast was the only one that went ahead, and Tracy had about 14 students, I think it was, and I did come up and visit and bring sandwiches and hung out with everyone on day 2, which was super fun. And we were so excited to be back in person teaching, because as great as Zoom has been, and it's been, you know, it's allowed us to all continue our lives and get through stuff, it was really lovely to have that energy in the classroom again. Mid-year this year, it didn't go ahead just because there weren't enough enrollments. We do need a minimum of 10, but having been up there and chatted to people very recently, I think it was it 3 weeks ago now? Gosh, time flies. A lot of people were telling me at the PLT Expo night that they were quite keen, Tracy, to do it face to face. And we've already got, I want to say, 4 or 5 registrations, and the course isn't till November.
That's great to hear.
It's great to hear, isn't it? And but I've also sort of verbally had conversations with about another 4 people. And then someone was saying, oh, and such is keen and such is keen. So if you are one of those keen people and you want to do that face-to-face option, the blended option at the end of November, enroll straight away. That way our student services, because we get a daily report literally of how many people are enrolled, how many are pending. That means that maybe they've got to submit some documents or they've got to get permission from QLS. And we keep an eye on that, and we make the call about 3 weeks out whether or not it will go ahead, because you can't have an interactive, engaging workshop if it's just you and Tracy and maybe one other person. You need a minimum of 10, but I reckon we'll get there. So you can help if you're keen to do that one, and you can also help by doing your own enrollment, but also rounding up any of your mates who are sort of talking about it. Just say to them, come on, get your enrollment in. Let's get a couple of places closer to the 10, and then it'll get locked in. If it doesn't go ahead, it'll just move online, which is what happened mid-year. So it still went ahead. It just went ahead online. But Tracy's super keen to come to the beautiful University of the Sunshine Coast campus and teach it. And I want to come and bring sandwiches and visit and see you all again. So that would be really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So part-time is 30 weeks, full-time is 15 weeks. I've already mentioned there's that nighttime option as well as our daytime option. And nationally, we have 150 or so intakes a year, and I think 30-ish are Queensland. I say ish because we keep having to add more courses because we're so popular. So it's around that 30 mark anyway. So that's all the sorts of different things that you'll have to decide on enrolling. These are all our locations. As you can see, the Sunshine Coast is there. Okay, so let's start talking about the 3 pillars of PLT. So I like to think about them separately. So there's the coursework that you do over 15 or 30 weeks, depending if you're full-time or part-time. You'll complete that week 1 intensive workshop week, and then 4 compulsory subjects and 2 electives. And those are all pretty standard across all the PLT providers, and they are listed on our website. You'll also do work experience. So Tracy's going to tell you a little bit more about coursework straight up, and because she's a lecturer, she actually teaches. And then I'll come back and talk to you a bit about the work experience options. We've got 3 at the moment. And then I'll briefly mention our 3rd pillar, which is the continuing professional education component, which is sometimes the forgotten 3rd cousin of the pillars, but we will talk about number 3 as well. So by the end of your course date, preferably, but it's okay if it goes a bit over. But as soon as you've ticked off after your course end date, all the coursework, the work experience and the CPE, then once you've got tick, tick, tick in the system under your name, that's when you're issued your completion certificate to move through to admission. So you've got to remember to do all 3 of the parts. So what we might do, Tracy, is I'll hand over to you to chat about coursework, and then I'll watch the chat. If anyone's got any questions, either flick your microphone on or pop a question in the chat. Thanks, Tracy. I'll mute because my dogs are barking.
No problems. Thanks, Jackie. What I'll do, everybody, is just pull up one of the subjects that we're dealing with at the moment in PLT. It's a core subject. But please ask me questions as you need to. One of the good things is that the college uses Canvas, which you'd all be really familiar with. I have found the USC Canvas one just a little bit more modern, to be honest, Jackie, than our PLT one, but that's all right. It works. You know, you'll be able to work it out. If I can work it out, you guys sure can.
I believe updates are coming next year. I believe there's projects to update our back-end resources and everything in the next 12 months or so.
Oh, great. Well, yeah. So what I was thinking is that, you know, everyone's pretty much got the same sort of platform. And I just think that's a bit of an advantage when you come from USC because, or it's UniSC now, isn't it? Because the fact that people are pretty much using the same sort of platform, and it just saves time trying to learn something different. So anyway, cut a long story short, let's have a look at one of the core subjects. Yay. Hopefully I've got the right one there. Yes, we want this one, civil. So hopefully everyone can see that one. I'm just in Canvas now, as you would normally expect with the course. What we do briefly, without telling you everything about the whole course, is that the PLT course will be either full-time or part-time, and it starts off with a set of workshops. As Jackie said, you can do them all in one hit, 1 week, whether it's face-to-face or Zoom, or maybe you'd be doing evening ones where they're kind of spread out a little bit more. However you're going to do it, it's fundamentally a week of workshops that you start off with. And all of those things are core skills that you're required to have as part of your admission to practice. So the college doesn't decide what subjects you do, it's the admissions board. And part of it is all these core skills that you'll do right at the beginning. And we call them the Lawyers Skills Week, which we'll have a look at in a sec. And you basically spend your time, it's pretty intensive. You spend your time going through workshops, which are pretty interactive as well. And you get to do things like having a practice at court mentions, you get to practice at some negotiations, you'll do some client interviewing, and you'll do a little bit of practice with writing and drafting, as in documents and business letters, that type of thing as well. That's just a little bit of a taste of what you do throughout that week. It's great because there's no consequences if you don't get it right, and you're not being assessed on the substance of what you're doing. You're being assessed on your participation in those workshops. So that can actually be a fun week. And that's the first thing. And then once you've done that, you go on to do your coursework online. So this is where you start coming to these subjects. And this is a current one that I'm doing, which is civil litigation, one of the core subjects you do. And you start working through these yourselves once you go online and we're no longer doing workshops together. Unlike uni, you don't have prepared lectures or workshops or seminars. You actually go through the coursework yourself and reference back to your course lecturer, who's a bit like a supervising solicitor in that sense. So the same as you would do in practice, where you'd have a go at a task and then you'd be touching base with your supervisor all the time. This is pretty much the same kind of setup. It's meant to simulate practice as much as possible. And what you'll be doing through each subject is using actual court forms, actual REIQ standard contracts for the sale of residential land and business. You'll be doing letters to the clients, first letters to buyers and property, those of you who might be a little bit familiar with doing conveyancing. You'll be doing affidavits, you'll be doing submissions, chronologies, all sorts of things as you go through. So it's real documents, it's real forms, and you get to be drafting those and having a go at those, and getting good feedback on them as well to help hone your skills. Okay. Any questions? Aha, yes. Yes and yes, I suppose, Taylor, would be the answer. What we do is we start off with ethics, and you'll spend, now if you've got a full-time course that you're in, it's pretty much a 2 to 2.5 week turnaround. So pretty intense. You'll start with ethics, you'll work your way through that. All the coursework's done, you get a multiple choice test to do as well. And once you've done all of those things, all those tasks as we call them, you're then eligible to undertake the assessment in that subject, which you do at the end of the roughly 2-week period. Then you work on to the next course subject, which is civil litigation. Then you go on to property, then commercial. And then finally, your 2 elective subjects, which are done together because they're shorter. So that's how it's kind of split up, basically.
And then if you're a part-time student, you're doing it half the rate, like half pace, like sort of the work spread out over twice as much time. I do know that Taylor does work. So, you know, if you are working, we do recommend doing the part-time course. It's only a difference of 15 weeks, people, over the course of a 40-year law degree. That's career. That's not long.
I'd recommend that too. Look, I've got plenty. Look, this particular subject that you're looking at, I've got a lot of people who are working and doing full-time, but it's pretty intense. It's not like uni work. It's like doing actual work in the law firm, and the
you can't leave it all to the end and then do it all at the last minute, can you? You need to do it each week.
You know, you probably could, I suppose.
Oh, Tracy.
But the problem with doing that, you know, is doing yourself a disservice. That is the problem. Yeah, sure, you could stay up all night and finish one of the tasks and knock it up and throw it in at 12 o'clock. Sure, you could. But, you know, in actual fact, you've done yourself a disservice by not actually spending the time to go through the resources.
And you also owe it to your future clients as well to really get as much out of PLT as you can, really hone and practice those skills.
Yeah, I think when you're doing PLT, you've got to really start getting into the mindset of being a lawyer. You know, now that you're at that point, you've got to start thinking, well, what does this mean for me? And what sort of lawyer do I want to be? You know, we've all spent all this time at uni and working hard and so on, and we're ambitious and competitive and so on. You know, you've got to think about the brand that you want to have as a lawyer. And I think for most of us, we want to be thought of as really good operators who do the job properly, we're thorough, we're diligent. And this is a good starting point. You know, PLT is that training ground where you've got a bit of a cushion, and then you start to think like a lawyer and start ramping up those skills, you know.
Ruby's just said Taylor's just too ambitious. and you know, if you are in a workplace like Taylor's, where I know Taylor's boss, who's very supportive, and you've got, you know, if you've got a workplace that you can say, oh look, I'm a little bit behind in my PLT, you know, could I have a study day on Friday? Or they give you study days, or you know, that sort of a situation, then that's different. You'll know, and if you are like some of the guys on this call, Tracy, you know, do work with the LSA, they do uni, they do so many different things, so they're used to having lots of balls in the air and sort of, you know, keeping them all up there. But I mean, PLT is a little bit different, and it's quite intense. You know, you can certainly, you know, everyone that I know on this, that I, you know, personally know on this call, I know that I'm confident that they're more than capable of doing it. But we also want to encourage you to look after your mental health, and we also want you to encourage you to get the most out of PLT. So just give it some thought. I'm happy to ring me and have a chat about your unique situation, but you know, don't burn yourself out before you've started, I guess, is what we're trying to say, even if you could do it.
That's right. So this is one of the subjects, just a brief overview there. For those of you familiar, and most of you would be with Canvas, this sort of setup's pretty similar to it. On the side there, we have the subjects, and you will have your core subjects and your electives there. You'll have your lawyer's skills there as well. This one up there, that'll be listed so you can still access all the resources in that. There'll be a guide to the practical legal training program, which will give you all your program manuals, details of work experience, getting your CPE, which we'll talk about. And it'll also have the access to the college library, which is fantastic. You can get in there and find cases, legislation, precedents, articles, you name it. We've got a lot of resources available to you. And this is one of the subjects, and what happens is that it has a description of the subject when you click on it. It has announcements, and there's my face there. My students never hear the end of me during subjects because I'm always giving them little tips, you know, for things to help guide them do things. And really important. We look at each module and assignment as we go down. I think you're more familiar with modules actually at Uni of the Sunshine Coast. So that's sort of how each of the subject areas is split up. As you can see, there's quite a lot in there. You have to do a fair bit for each task, which is why I suggest you get the most out of it and spend proper time on your tasks. And then you submit them through the system. We've got the same sort of grading system, I think, as everybody else. And some of the assignments that you would be doing in this one would include things like doing a proof-making model, which you may not have done yet. So when we click on our first assignment, we'll get a set of instructions as you would in practice, complete with a file. You'll have templates available to you. You'll have all the resources you need. For the most part, you don't really need to go outside of what's available to you. The college links everything. Notes, our practice papers, similar to a textbook, legislation, forms, everything that you'll be needing is available to you there. It'll give you a case study to work on first up, and then finally you can do your submission. So that's just basically what it looks like when you go into one of the subjects that you work on. Any questions?
No, there's no questions in the chat box, but please pop them in if you have one floating around in your head.
All right.
We can do more. We can have some question time at the end as well if you do sort of process all that information and think of something to ask Tracy.
And just a brief look at what happens during the very first week of PLT when you come along and do the Lawyers Skills Week with us. This is where we might be face-to-face at the uni, or we might be online together. We have a range of workshops that we do. They are the compulsory skills that you've got to do in accordance with the requirements of the admissions board. And here's what they look like. So interviewing, ethics, problem solving, risk management, writing and drafting. We delve into wellbeing and practice, negotiation and dispute resolution, and advocacy. So there's quite a lot there. It's interesting. You get plenty of notes, plenty of different types of tasks to do. Some you can do on your own, some you can do with a partner, some you just do as a group. And it's participatory. You're meant to be participating. So part of the requirement for participating in those workshops is to, have your camera on, be ready to answer questions and ask them as the case may be, and to work with the other people in your group. Okay.
Absolutely. And we have to, whether you're online or whether you are face-to-face, we have to put our hand on our heart and promise the admissions board that everyone was at every single workshop. So yes. If you do for some reason have to miss something, if you're not well or something like that, it gets made up at a later date, but you have to actually attend each and every one of those workshops.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's just a little snapshot. I didn't want to take up too much time. It's just a bit of a snapshot of what it looks like in terms of navigating around Canvas and what our subjects look like. You know, the college does a fantastic job, quite frankly, of having all of your material really well resourced. It's really up to date. The links are up to date. It just takes you straight to court forms and stuff like that. So it really helps you to work pretty efficiently.
And it's actually all being reviewed at the moment, so it'll be done by this year's annual review will be done by the time people are starting in November. It's all underway at the moment. Thanks, Tracy.
No problem.
Excellent. Well, we don't have any more questions, but as I said, we can ask more questions along the way. So I might go back to sharing the slides and see where we were up to. Can never find that dirty great big green button. Excellent. Okay, I think they're back up again. Okay, so this is basically what Tracy's talked about. This is our little learning circle. You've heard about the circle of life and, you know, holding the lion cub up and all that sort of stuff. But this is the circle of learning at the College of Law and really for life. So we're learning skills. We're learning our practical skills. We're practicing those skills in a safe, secure environment where there's no consequences. We're gaining feedback from our lecturers, and then we're reviewing that feedback, reviewing our work, putting that feedback into action, learning, and then improving our practice. And that's how that works at the College of Law in that safe, secure environment. So it was great to have that little snapshot of the coursework. Yeah, so again, this is what our grads are saying, skills for real life, you know, practicing those, being on your feet, being a lawyer, role-playing, interviews, negotiation, courtroom appearances, all under the guidance of experienced practitioners, and completing those day-to-day tasks that you actually need to do as an entry-level lawyer, gaining that feedback from very experienced lawyers. All of our teachers are, we do have some full-time lecturers who used to be lawyers. Now their passion is training and mentoring the next generation of legal practitioners, but most of them do maintain a practicing certificate. Or we've got part-time staff like Tracy who wear two hats. They are actually still a practicing lawyer out there in Lawland, but also their second job is mentoring and training and developing the next generation of lawyers. And Tracy's been with us a long time, haven't you, Tracy? Longer than I've been at college, and I've been around sort of 5 years or so.
Yes, it's been about 12 years now.
12 years. Can you imagine how many lawyers you sent out into practice? That's the mind boggles at that number, actually. So, you know, very, very experienced teacher and mentor, and also lawyer. So many, many, many others like Tracy. We're very lucky, actually. And then, of course, the review sessions is the soft word of saying oral assessments at the end of each subject, where you just sit with someone like Tracy and have a chat. Look, most people are nervous for their first one, but once they've got the first one under the way, they're like, oh, that wasn't too bad. It's just simply having a chat. So again, mimicking the world of work. So your boss will not go, let me know I want to know where you are on that matter. Can you please write me a 500 or 1,000 words and have that on my desk by next Friday? No, they say, hey, would you mind stepping in here and telling me where you're up to? Or you'll have to explain complex legal issues to and break them down to your clients, and they won't have law degrees. So it's about being able to explain things in sort of you know, simplified, you know, without the legal jargon, and you know, making it all complex. So it's very much getting you ready to do that. Okay, so that's coursework. We've covered pillar 1. I guess that's kind of the bulk of what people think of when they think PLT. But the second pillar is your work experience criteria. And this is all set for us by the admitting bodies, and we have 3 options for you. Now, if you guys are working, and I know that a lot of you are, the exciting news is a lot of you have already completed pretty much most of your coursework, your work experience, which is really exciting. The 75-day option is what we call our standard option, and you can actually complete and claim 60 days of legal work experience in the 2 years before you start PLT. So let's just say those of you who are looking to start with us in November of this year, which will be here in a New York minute, so to speak, you can go, what work have I done between November 2020, when we were in the height of COVID, through till November 2022 that I can claim? And if you can find 60 days, you can claim those 60 days already. They can be at the same employer, they can be at different employers, whatever works up to that number. Now, you'll do some forms for each employer. So if there is 2 employers, you'll do 2 sets of forms. There's a form sort of at the beginning, technically, but you can do it retrospectively. That's not a problem, saying, hi college, this is it's an application for work experience form. So that's just saying, hi college, this is where I'm working, this is the job role I'm doing, and this is who's supervising me. And then at the end of that time, you put in your declaration, and it's saying, hi college, I've finished. And then you sign, and your supervisor, who's the same person, will sign off both forms, and you submit those. So let's just say you're looking to start in November. You could be doing those forms tonight if you want. Well, no, you can't do them. Well, you could complete them tonight, have them signed off tomorrow, and send them in tomorrow, and have 60 days up your sleeve already. You will complete the final 15 days during or after your PLT coursework. And then there's a work experience journal to complete, reflecting on the final 15 days. So the bit that you do during or after PLT. And you do actually have 2 years after your coursework to complete that work experience. However, just bearing in mind that you don't get your completion certificate to move forward to admission till this is completed. Or if you are, some people are potentially not working in the law and they've got to take some leave and go and do some unpaid work experience, or if you just want to move through quicker, or whatever your situation is, you might choose to do a 15-day option with the clinical experience module, which is an extra subject. So in this case, you would do all your 15 days during or after PLT, so it's equivalent to those final 15 days in the standard option. And then you, after your coursework, you would enroll in an additional 6-week online program. Now, if you are a part-time student, you can actually start that in week 16, once you've completed your 15 days, of course. And then if you're a full-time student, you also do it in week 16. So you'd finish your coursework and then start your clinical experience module. I have had someone ask before, Tracy, do you have to do the 15 days first? I'm like, yes, because the subject is reflecting on that work experience. So you do have to have completed your 15 days to enroll in that subject. That has a start and an end date for that subject, but they start all the time. They're usually timed at that week 16 mark. But if you're not ready to do it then, just do the next one. It totally is up to you. And again, college is very flexible and allows you to choose your own adventure. At the moment, there's what was our COVID option. So beginning of 2020, it was quite tragic. We literally could sit there and watch all the jobs drop off our jobs board, which we have available for people looking for work experience. Lots of PLT placements and full-time work on that jobs board. It was just like it was quite tragic. People were really having trouble. College of Law went to all the admitting bodies in every single state and got permission for a 0-day work experience option, which does sound a bit counterintuitive. But what we did was we put together a subject, and again an additional subject called the in practice component, which was 8 weeks with a start and an end date. We matched you with a mentor. So we found the mentor, matched you up. So each group going through will have a group online mentor, but this is a one-on-one mentor, and it'll be someone different. Could be a barrister, could be a senior solicitor, someone who's very experienced that guides you through that 8-week program, that simulating work. That's still running. We sort of get it renewed 6 months at a time. And at the moment, it is renewed to run through the end till the end of financial year, so June 30, 2023 now. That decision is out of College of Law's hands. It's held by the Chief Justice and the admitting bodies. So watch this space. If you're coming to us this year or early next year, you will have that option. If you're coming to us in 2 years, potentially not. Although it was supposed to end a year ago. So who knows? We love it. Students do love it. But, you know, I also do think getting the actual work experience is good. So if you are earlier on in your course at uni, just think about you know, in your penultimate and on your final year, trying to get some legal work experience, because then when you get to day one of PLT, you've already done a lot of it. However, we have plenty of people who arrive at College of Law with not a minute of work experience, and everything in between. So don't panic, no matter what your situation is. You'll get through just like other people have. So examples of work experience: clerkships, legal assistant or paralegal, volunteering at Community Legal Centre, working with Legal Aid, working with the Office of the DPP, organisations with in-house lawyers, tax or legal divisions of chartered accounting or CPA firms, obviously doing sort of the legal side of things, government policy and planning work. A lot of people are judges associates, working with barristers or tribunal members, or working in government or semi-government departments, as long as the work that you're doing is a legal role that meets the criteria. So not working on an admin side of things. So we're looking to see that you've had interactions with clients, that you have done legal research, that you've drafted legal documents, and that you've used a file management system. So that's what we're looking to see. So there's rules and further information on our website, of course. Okay, so that's the second pillar. I don't see any questions, but if there are, and if you want to talk about your specific situation, let's get in touch sometime, well, this week, next week, whenever suits you. But if you've got any general questions, obviously pop them in the chat box. So the third pillar is our CPE. So when you are an actual lawyer like Tracy, you have to do 10 points of CPD a year. CPD, CPE is interchangeable. So it's either continuing professional education or it's continuing professional development, but it's essentially the same thing, legal training after PLT. Now, if you go and see a doctor, you would not want that doctor to have done his or her medical degree 5, 10, 15, certainly not 20 plus years ago without doing some further subject study, because medical knowledge changes each and every year, as does legal knowledge. So the law is also a profession like medicine, and you have to stay up to date like accountants. So your clients will expect you to be keeping up with the changes. So you do that every year. We practice that in PLT, and it's actually quite easy. You don't even have to think about it. We give you 10 self-paced online interactive modules, and once you've done all those, at the end you'll also get an extra certificate. So it's actually the Legal Tech and Business Skills series for the changing future of law, put together for us by our centre, you know, with the help of our Centre for Legal Innovation. An additional certificate of legal tech and business that you can add to your resume, and pretty much you can do one of these a week. Or I like to say Bridgerton them, which is just smash them out 1 to 10, which is what I did with both seasons of Bridgerton over Easter. It was exhausting and I loved it. So it's totally up to you, however you want to do it. And I'm trying to bring in that expression. Okay, so here's your support team throughout the process from now. Now for the rest of your career, really. We have our student liaison, student services team, and also me. So if you've got questions, and you know, feel free to come through to me either via email or on LinkedIn, or give me a call. And I'm certainly happy, but sometimes I'm not quite sure of the answers if it's sort of an admin-y thing. And what we do is together we ask our student services team, who are super helpful, and they sort of help us with those nuts and bolts, sort of admin-y things. And they're good. Even when you start the program, it's like, oh, I need to move that assessment, the oral assessment. The student services team will do that and put you into one of the makeup days. We have wonderful team of instructors such as Tracy, who will work with you as your mentors throughout the program, and they'll give you that individual feedback and keep your learning on track. So keep in touch with them is my biggest tip of the night. Don't go missing in action and then want to put everything in at the last minute. That's just not good for your mental health or Tracy's. You know, if stuff comes up at work, you just need to. They're very friendly, as you probably got the gist of tonight. And you just go, Tracy, this has happened. I can't get that in by Friday. Can I have an extension? And she'll work with you because she's there to partner with you to get you through the program. Once you're a College of Law student, you have access to our amazing career coach teams as well. We've got two wonderful colleagues. So this is Susan on screen, but there's another lady called Ruth, and Susan's 3 days and Ruth is 2 days, and they're very, very experienced practitioners. There's one of those ladies always available, and you can make an appointment to have sort of one-on-one assistance with your interview prep, resume reviews, building a personal brand. But sometimes you have to book a long way in advance because they're so popular. Between the two of them, they've done like 700 appointments in the last year. They run free webinars and seminars for students that you guys have got access to from now. And I always let the University of Sunshine Coast LSA know, and they do advertise those to you on your social media, and they are totally free. So if there's any topics that interest you, jump onto them. And then, of course, we've got our jobs board and our college connections as well. And that's a huge, you can imagine that there's, you know, we're turning out 5,000 new lawyers a year nationally. And on the Sunshine Coast, you know, you don't have to go very far to find one of our grads. In fact, as everyone that was at the Career Expo knows, we were very proud when the list in May of the top 12 Sunshine Coast Young Guns came out, and 100% of those were Sunshine Coast University graduates, but they were also 100% College of Law graduates. So it made me all warm and fuzzy at the time. I did love it, Tracy. So I think we've already mentioned this. College of Law, 30 or so national firms that we partner with to provide their PLT training. About 77% of law students graduates across Australia. It's a bit different state by state. On the Sunshine Coast, I'd say it's like 98%, to be honest, or 95%. I don't know what the exact figure is, but I think most people in the Sunshine Coast do tend to come to college, and going on 48 going on 49 years training lawyers, and that's PLT started in the 90s, so most people have been doing it the same amount of time, but we've been training lawyers, whatever that looked like, for nearly 50 years, which we're quite proud of. Now, do it your way, only pay for what you need. I mentioned the 3 different types of work experience, and that's going to influence the price of your course. So everyone pays the course fee. So that's for the 15 weeks or the 30-week course. It includes your practice papers. It includes your CPD. It includes everything. And it can be put on fee help, which is like a postgraduate bucket of money. The government gives you a new bucket of money when you get to postgrad. So $10,150 for Australian and citizens and permanent residents. Now, if you do a 75-day option, which is what most people do, to be honest, that's it. There's nothing else. It's all included. If you do the short format, which is 15 days with a clinical experience option, which is an extra subject, you do pay for that subject, so you can add 1,610. I always laugh how it's and 10. I don't know where that comes from. If you choose to do the mentored version, the in-practice component, which is available till mid-year, you'll pay your course fee and then $2,000 for that 8-week program. So that's the difference in the pricing. Well, College of Law by numbers, I've already mentioned, we are proudly producing over 5,000 new lawyers a year across the profession across Australia. Last year we had, this is 2021 data, over 180 start dates in 7 Australian states and territories. When we do deliver face-to-face, we have 19 different locations, 20 if you count online. Ruth and Susan had a very quiet year. They've already surpassed this year. They did 425. That's a lot, but they're up to about 600 consultations this year. And we've got just under 300 qualified lawyers mentoring our students as lecturers. Susan and Ruth did over 11 free careers webinars with 31 guest speakers. We had over 1,000 jobs put up on our jobs board. That's nationally. We celebrated 6 years of the Centre for Legal Innovation. I'll talk about that more shortly. And the other thing is, if you do, and a lot of people on the Sunshine Coast tend to do this quite quickly, if you have done PLT with us, you can come back and do your master's, which again is a very, very, very practical program, loved by lawyers across the profession, and we'll give you credits for 2 electives. So an 8-subject master's becomes 6, and you can do that in a year and a half because we have 4 intakes a year, 4 semesters, if you want to call it that. Okay, Centre for Legal Innovation. Anyone has any interest in innovation in the law, legal tech, all that sort of stuff, the Centre for Legal Innovation is an innovation-focused think tank, which is created by the College of Law, works with a lot of external lawyers and has lots of free resources, and you can actually sign up for a free student membership. So you just go onto a website and you'll see the link to the college, Centre for Legal Innovation. They also have a scholarship, fellowship for anyone that is within the first year of graduating for PLT. So you get invited to a whole bunch of events and get introduced to people. So that's quite cool. The first person was actually Jess Popple of the Sunshine Coast, current president of the District Law Association. She was the very first student fellow. Okay, so the choice is yours. Do you want to do it 100% online? Do you want to do the blended learning? Remember, we are planning to come to the Sunshine Coast at the end of November, so enroll ASAP to get those numbers up to 10. We're getting close. Do you want to do it full-time over 15 weeks? Do you want to do it part-time over 30 weeks, perhaps potentially if you're working full-time? Do you want to do the standard work experience option of 75 days or the 15-day short option, or the mentored in practice component, which is 0 days with the mentor over 8 weeks? Do you want to do the evening course or completely online or face-to-face? So there's lots of different options. So those are things to sort of consider. Happy for you to ring me for a chat if you need help making those decisions. That's a repeat of that slide. That's a bit silly. Now, we also talk to people who have already done PLT, and I'm like, well, what did you think about? What are the things to consider when deciding on where to do PLT? So does that provider have regular intakes? Our College of Law's got, 30 in Queensland, 150 nationally. You don't have to wait a whole semester or a whole 6 months to do the next College of Law course. Can you study your way, part-time, full-time, blended, online, evening, or the other options? Can you do it quickly? I think ours is one of the quickest on the market. You can do it in 15 weeks. Chat to friends and colleagues. You cannot go very far on the Sunshine Coast without tripping over one of our grads, which we're very proud of. So there's lots of people to chat about what their experience is like. And, do you have local practitioners teaching local contact at local campuses? So we not only have our Brisbane campus of the College of Law, we also teach on the Sunshine Coast, on the Gold Coast, Townsville, Cairns, Toowoomba and Rockhampton when we get the numbers to go ahead, and the Sunshine Coast is the most likely to go ahead. So those are just, and of course 6 on the list is choose the College of Law. She inserts cheekily. So connect with the College of Law. I would love my phone to be blowing up with LinkedIn requests, although it probably won't because I actually am connected with most of you, I think. But that's our website, collaw.edu.au/PLT. The College of Law Facebook and the College of Law LinkedIn are fabulous. So much information about the profession. It's not PLT focused. It's actually about the profession and what's going on. And it's got free webinars and seminars that you can attend, stuff about the Centre for Legal Innovation, all that sort of stuff. And there's me, there's my LinkedIn. Someone's already got Jackie Owen, so I'm an Owen Jackie. But just if you search JCQUI Owen, and Tracy's also on LinkedIn, she'd love you to connect. And I'm going to stop sharing and come back to the main screen. But if anyone does have any questions that they want to ask, please either chat to us now or pop something in the chat box, or feel free to email me tomorrow. But thanks for staying with us. What's everyone watching on TV at the moment? What's everyone's latest binging at the moment?
I'm watching House of the Dragon.
Oh yeah, my husband's into that. Is it Monday? Yeah, we'll be
Yes, it
watching
is
that
Monday.
later tonight. It's good, isn't it?
It's really good.
It's fabulous.
Have you watched RuPaul's Drag Race before, Jackie?
I have. It's a bit
I
fabulous.
knew it. I was like, I literally was like to Ruby before. I'm like, I bet you anything Jackie has watched this.
I've watched that. Yes, right at the beginning. My sister's a big fan, actually. My sister's
my
a
mum
huge
and I
fan.
watch it every week.
It's so funny. I
Yeah,
do
it's
love
great.
RuPaul. She's a bit fabulous.
Just a bit.
I'm waiting for Outlander to come back.
Oh yeah.
And obviously Bridgerton.
I did have a question for
Yes,
you, Jackie.
hit me, Shay.
Sorry, I would turn my camera on, but I'm using my desktop and I don't have a webcam yet. It's
Fair
fairly
enough.
new. But I was seeing before in the sort of integrated learning options or the sort of internship options, I suppose, that you could go in-house.
Yes.
So I'm sure I've spoken to you, but I work in a media organization.
Yes.
And of course, we have lawyers as
Yes.
part of that. Would that classify as in-house?
Yes,
is it
if you
in-house
can-
enough?
Yes, if you can get on the legal team and do some, so either do a secondment,
Mhm.
and it might even be that you could get seconded there for 15 days and do the clinical experience module.
Yeah.
That's often what people do. We had a doctor, you know, Dinesh, that's everywhere. That's the disability advocate. He's a College of Law graduate, which we kind of love. And I remember when he was doing the program, he was a Gold Coast student, and he was literally finishing work as a doctor and then working through the night and then going and doing 4 hours or 4 times a week to build up his 15 days. That's how he did it. So
Mm.
he was going and sort of volunteering on the in-house team. But what I think is ideal is if you can have a chat to people and go, look, I'd really like to, I'm doing PLT, I need my 15 days, and see if
Yeah.
you can slide onto that team for 3 weeks. Obviously, if you can do 75 days, even better, but
No, definitely not.
But that's where
I
the
can't afford
short-
to take that much leave.
that's where sometimes you can do a secondment and sort of just get moved over to that team for 75 days or 15 days. But if you can't, and if it's like, yes, you can come and volunteer here, you could do 2 days a week, or to spread it out. So
absolutely.
if you are, one thing I didn't mention, if you're a part-time PLT student, those last 15 days that are done, if you're doing any work experience during PLT, you can only claim 2 days a week. If you're a part-time student, you can claim 5 days a week. So that might come into it. So if anyone wants to ring me and chat about that, let me know.
Cool. Thank
But
you.
obviously, if you're doing it full-time and you're working 2 days a week or claiming 2 days a week, you've got 14 weeks, because obviously week one's full-time with us, but 14 weeks to do 2 days a week. So there's plenty of time.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah, so maybe go and chat to a few people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure.
Oh, I've lost you.
I could organize to volunteer, but it would just be, oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
Cool. Sorry. Yeah, they're just based in a different city. So it would have to be something planned well in advance.
Yeah. And remember, Shay, you can also do it after your coursework. So if you want to get your coursework over and done with, once you've finished your coursework, you can then do 5, 10, 15. So you could go and do 3 weeks full time and just knock it out after your coursework. You don't have to be doing it at the same time. It's very flexible like that.
Cool. Thank you.
Ruby's watching Scandal, and it's so scandalous. Oh, I might have to get into that one. And then Taylor's watching her international human rights law lectures. You're funny. That doesn't sound as scandalous as Scandal or RuPaul's Drag Race.
Sounds like fun though.
Well, depends on your definition of fun, doesn't it?
Well, I'm preparing lectures for civil procedure, so I'm pretty sure Scandalous is more fun than that.
Any tips on getting through civil procedure? That's what I'm currently binging.
Oh, have you?
Oh yeah, I'm way behind. I've just moved out of home for work and like started a new job, so I'm like 3 weeks behind in civil
Oh,
procedure content. It's just so dry.
yeah. And they still pack it into one semester, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah. Most of the unis are doing that. It used to be a full year.
Oh really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a huge area.
Yeah. It is
But they're all
massive.
packing it into one semester. So you just, bombarded with this huge
Mm.
amount of information.
Yeah, it is. It is really sort of overwhelming. Like none of it's super difficult, but it's so just the sheer volume of how much there is
Yeah.
to learn is just kind of absurd.
I mean, it's great that it's mostly packed into the uniform civil procedure rules, but you've still got to look at them and try and work out the case studies and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
Head down, tail up, Shay.
You got it.
Excellent. Well, I think there's no more questions. And as much as I'd love to stay and hang out with you all night, I'm pretty sure that you've either got something to binge or some human rights lectures to watch. So I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you when I bring sandwiches up in November, but seeing the rest of you at my next visit. Shay did tell me last week I was an honorary Sunshine Coaster, and then I should probably
Yes.
get a holiday home up there because I've been visiting a lot lately, which is fabulous. But if anyone has any questions, and contact me on LinkedIn if you didn't grab my email address, or contact Maddie or any of the LSO team. They've all got my details. So let's, schedule a phone call if you wanted to chat about your own particular situation, or if you have any questions that spring into your mind after this presentation, or if you're watching this recording. So thanks for hanging out tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Tracy. And I'll
Thanks,
get this
everyone.
downloaded and send it to you in the next couple of days as well. And that way you'll also obviously have my contact details through that email. So look forward to chatting to you all soon, and hopefully seeing some of you in our next Sunshine Coast intake, which will be here before we know it. So I'll talk to you guys
Yes.
soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jackie.
everyone. Talk soon.
Thank you, Tracy.
Bye.
See you later.
Yeah.